filthy swine! Get in here, have a seat, sit on those trotters and listen. How much of the Bible is potentially explainable in more contemporary ideas of aliens and such, or time travelers? Can you shoehorn any science fiction-y nonsense into some aspects of the Bible to explain what's going on in their recollection? Chariots of fire and angels described that sound a lot like higher dimensional beings intersecting our universe. There's a lot of weirdness that goes on in the Bible, which is one of the reasons why I'm really interested in learning more about it. And this article, this interesting article on Graham Hancock's website, which is titled grahamhancock.com, Ezekiel's Vision, Angel, Alien or Cosmic Model, written by a chap called Christopher Philip John. I think that's him there. Abstract. This paper reinterprets the prophetic vision of Ezekiel as a synthesis of theology, mythology, and early cosmology. Or early cosmology, not cosmetology. It explores how the imagery of the divine chariot, the four-faced cherubim, and the wheels within wheels reflects possible influences from Babylonian cosmology during Ezekiel's exile in Babylon. The study traces the origin of Ezekiel's cherubim to the Lamassu. These are composite guardian figures that embodied the constellations marking the four seasonal points of the zodiac during the age of Taurus. It further examines the firmament and throne in Ezekiel 1 as an ancient description of the celestial dome and zenith, paralleling the early Greek cosmological model of Anaximander, a contemporary of Ezekiel. By comparing religious symbolisms with cosmic knowledge of the time, this paper argues that Ezekiel's vision was not merely mystical or theological, but a profound symbolic attempt to describe the ordered structure of the heavens, bridging the worlds of prophetic revelation and proto-scientific cosmology. There you go, that says it all. Ezekiel, 622 to 570 BCE, the son of Buzi, was a priest from the kingdom of Judah. He lived during a time of immense political upheaval, following King Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon's victory over the Egyptians at the Battle of Carchemish in 605 BCE. Judah became a Babylonian vassal state. It was after this that the prophet Daniel was taken to the court of the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar II. When King Jehoiakim of Judah rebelled, Nebuchadnezzar besieged Jerusalem once again. After Jehoiakim's death, his son Jehoiachin, who is also called Jehoiachin, took over. However, he soon surrendered and was exiled to Babylon, along with 10,000 captives, including Ezekiel. Nebuchadnezzar then installed Zedekiah as a puppet king. They couldn't call them like Dave or Stephen, could they? I think I might rename these people just for my own convenience. See, I can say Nebuchadnezzar quite well because I watched the film The Matrix and I quite like that. Ezekiel lived among the exiles by the Khyber River in Babylon, where he became a voice of warning, judgment, and eventual hope for his people. During this vision of Ezekiel's chariot, Ezekiel described a storm coming from the north, a great cloud of fire flashing forth continually and a brilliant light around it. From this storm emerged the divine chariot, surrounded by four living beings, each with a human form but possessing four faces, those of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle with four wings. Their legs shone like burnished bronze, and under their wings were human-like hands. It's quite a vision there, sir. They moved in perfect coordination, accompanied by wheels within wheels, glowing like beryl. The spirit of the living creatures was said to be within the wheels, indicating the unified movement. Later, these same beings are explicitly identified as cherubim. I wonder if the description of these wheels, and I'm going all science fiction-y here, so brace yourselves, they sound very much like a projection system. If you were trying to project some kind of hologram and you wanted to do so by shining lasers that intersect at certain points or something like that, the description of there being eyes on wheels and that the wheels constantly follow these beings, in a way, you could imagine they were large drones with a kind of a ring projection system. Wherever they went, they were projecting these beings, maybe. I'm just throwing in a a guess there. Perhaps they were holograms projected by some kind of, I don't know, alien drone? Or who knows? Many artists have attempted to capture Ezekiel's vision over the centuries, with differing results. Figure 1 shows one such attempt, a Jewish interpretation. For centuries, Masekava, work of the chariot, was regarded as one of Judaism's most sacred and dangerous mysteries. Why is it dangerous? The Mishnah forbade its public teaching. Only a select few students could study it privately. Between the 3rd and 6th centuries CE, Merkava mystics developed visionary practices. This included chants, meditations, and ascents to the heavenly throne, as preserved in Hecalot, Rabati, and 3 Enoch. In the Middle Ages, Maimonides reinterpreted the vision as metaphysics and cosmology, passing its meaning to only advanced students. Thus, for over a millennium, Ezekiel's vision was seen not as literal, but as symbolic of divine knowledge and cosmic order. Yeah, maybe. But why be so obscure in describing the universe in that way? Ancient astronaut theory. Either my impression, my retarded sci-fi impression, is that the rings were projection devices and the beings were holograms, or they were hyperdimensional beings intersecting our universe, which is why they're so odd to look at. In 1968, Erich von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods proposed a radical reinterpretation that Ezekiel's chariot described as spacecraft. This is more my style. Von Daniken cited details such as wheels within wheels, fire and noise as evidence of advanced technology. It's quite suggestive. In 1974, NASA engineer Joseph F. Blumrich expanded on this idea in The Spaceships of Ezekiel, proposing that the description fit a landing craft with rotors and a command module. Maybe. Though speculative, this theory popularized the ancient astronaut hypothesis that ancient people misinterpreted extraterrestrial technology as divine revelation. But was any of the above truly what Ezekiel saw? To explore this, we must return to the world of his Babylonian exile. Ezekiel in Babylon. During his captivity, Ezekiel lived amid the splendor of Babylon. He may have seen the Istar Gate decorated with dragons and the brick processional way leading to it. He may also have heard of or glimpsed the legendary Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Babylonian civilization was steeped in astronomy and astrology. Their records, like the Mul-Apin tablets, 1000 BCE, and the Venus tablets of Amiasudukwa, showed sophisticated celestial observations. Nebuchadnezzar II himself rebuilt the great ziggurat Etemenanki, possibly the inspiration of the biblical Tower of Babel. A Babylonian tablet from Nebuchadnezzar's 37th year records a mysterious red glow in the night sky, which was likely an aurora borealis. Ezekiel's world, therefore, was rich in cosmic symbolism. As a priest, he may have encountered Babylonian astronomer priests whose celestial imagery could have shaped his own visionary language. The Lama Su and the origins of the cherubim. A. The earliest origins 3000 to 2000 BCE, which is about 5,000 years ago. Quite a while ago. Long before the Hebrew cherubim, Mesopotamian civilizations revered the Lama Su, a hybrid guardian being with a human head, the body of a bull or lion, and the wings of an eagle. These beings embodied protection, divinity, and cosmic order. The earliest Lama Su appeared around 3000 BCE in Elba. In Akkadian myth, they were linked with Shamash, the sun god, believed to hold open the gates of dawn each morning. In the Assyrian period, 900 to 700 BCE, the Neo-Assyrian Empire lay in northern Mesopotamia, was centered around Nineveh and Assur. The Neo-Babylonian Empire arose later in southern Mesopotamia. There's a picture there. Do with it as you wish. By the Neo-Assyrian period, Lama Su's sculptures guarded palace gates at Nimrud, Nineveh, and Sharrukin at the citadel of Sargon II, modern Khorsabad. Colossal Lama Su flanked entrances symbolizing divine protection. There they are, you can't get past them. You can't fool them. The purpose of the Lama Su mirrored that of the cherubim with flaming swords who guarded the tree of life on the east side of Eden, following the expulsion of Adam and Eve. The specification of east is significant. At the equinox, the sun rises due east and sets due west, while at the solstices it reaches its northernmost and southernmost points, forming a solar cross that marks the four cardinal directions. Though the precession of the equinoxes gradually shifts the background constellations, creating the ages of Taurus, Aries, Pisces, Aquarius, etc., the cardinal directions themselves remain fixed by Earth rotation, making east a constant point of orientation and symbolic significance. In 2025, archaeologists unearthed a Lamassu at Tel Nabi, Yanis near Mosul, dating to Esarhaddon's reign, 680 BCE. It is believed to have originally been one of the pair that decorated the main gate of the hall. Oh, which hall? Of a hall. After Assyria's fall to Nabopolassar in 609 BCE, its people continued under Babylonian rule. Ezekiel, living in Babylon, could have encountered Assyrian artisans or even Lamassu statues taken as war spoils. This would have familiarized Ezekiel with their iconography, linguistic and theological continuity. The Hebrew Kerav, or cherub, likely derives from the Akkadian karabu, meaning to bless. This linguistic link shows that the Hebrew cherubim were inherited from the Lamassu tradition. As Mesopotamian culture spread westward, its imagery infused Israelite religion, especially during the Babylonian exile. The astronomy behind Lamassu cherubim. The Lamassu are depicted with the head of a bearded man with a horned crown, the wings of an eagle, and the body of an ox. Sometimes, the Lamassu is depicted with the body of a lion instead of an ox, as displayed at the Mesopotamian Museum, which is interesting because the Sphinx, some people say, originally was a lion before, I guess, a lot of erosion and recarving turned it into what it is now. Ezekiel's four-faced being, man, lion, ox, and eagle, as depicted as the Lamassu cherubim in Figure 4, represents constellations. Ezekiel himself lived during the astrological age of Aries, so the Lamassu imagery would have arisen earlier during the age of Taurus, 4300 BCE. It was during the age of Taurus when the following constellations marked the four seasonal points of the year. This is due to the precession of the equinoxes. Okay, so what is this describing? It's got four faces. Is this describing a period of time then? Is that what it means? During this era, Scorpio was often symbolized as an eagle rather than a scorpion, a symbolism possibly retained in Ezekiel's vision. This suggests that his imagery was not random but cosmological, echoing the star lore of ancient Mesopotamia, the bowl of heaven, the firmament, and the throne. Ezekiel describes a firmament like the color of crystal. You've spelt color wrong, sir. Stretched out above their heads. To ancient eyes, the sky appeared as a luminous bowl-shaped dome arching over the earth, with a throne on top of it, the astronomical meaning. The firmament represents the celestial dome, the visible hemisphere of the heavens. Stars appear as eyes, embedded in this crystalline structure. Above the dome was a throne symbolizing the zenith, the highest point of the sky. The figure on the throne could represent the sun at its zenith, echoing the Mesopotamian image of Shamash, the solar deity seated in judgment at the peak of the heavens. Alternatively, it could have depicted Yahweh, who in some schools of thought is a solar deity. I think is also another name for God, is it not, Yahweh? This imagery thus far is shown in Figure 5. Okay, there's a dome, there's a big old chair on top and a bunch of animals surrounding it. That's what I'm seeing, a cosmological model. Ezekiel's vision appears to be a cosmological model, but it remains incomplete, as he has described other elements of this model in his vision. In this regard, a comparison between Ezekiel's model and Anaximander's cosmological model is in order. Ezekiel was a contemporary of Anaximander, who lived in Maltus, Ionia, located in modern-day Turkey, while Ezekiel lived in Babylon. Anaximander, though never having travelled there nor dealt directly with Babylonians, likely absorbed astronomical concepts that had spread westward from Babylon through intermediaries. Ezekiel's model is a prophetic vision, not a scientific description. Its purpose is theological and to reveal the glory and presence of God, and not to explain how the heavens are structured. Anaximander's model, on the other hand, is explicitly cosmological. Anaximander is credited with creating one of the earliest conceptual models of the heavens, which laid the groundwork for the later idea of celestial spheres. A point-to-point comparison between Ezekiel's and Anaximander's model is presented in Table 2 below. Interestingly, both Ezekiel and Anaximander use the word chariot, which is discussed in Table 2 below. Meaning of the chariot: a divine throne symbolizing God's presence and mobility, wheels within wheels full of eyes moved by the Spirit. Cosmic wheel model explaining the structure of the heavens, celestial bodies as fiery chariot wheels revolving. See, wheels within wheels is also kind of descriptive of an orrery. Show me an image of an orrery. There you go. Wheels within wheels. It's a mechanism used to describe the motion of the planets in the sky. So perhaps this discussion of wheels within wheels is a description of the motion of the planets and stuff, and he's describing an orrery, maybe? Function of this chariot. All right. Motion. The wheels move in unison with the living creature, can go in any direction without turning, which is why I was kind of thinking whether these may have been projection devices of some sort. The spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Motion is animated by divine or spiritual force. The rims are full of eyes, or projection devices, maybe, if the wheels are hovering above the entities and they're projecting a hologram beneath them, maybe. Wherever the entity goes, the wheel will have to follow. Would be a nerdy sci-fi way of interpreting this. Material composition, visionary and luminous, possibly metallic or crystalline in symbolic terms. Multi-directional, can move north, south, east, west. Yeah, the hovering, the wheel is hovering above the creature. We see them as halos in lots of modern iconography, but perhaps they were projection devices. Description of fire. Ezekiel sees a wheel on the ground and beside each creature, and the surface between them looks like glowing metal, bronze. I mean, the fact that it's an entirely text-based description, there's no video or whatever, there's no video of way back then. We're having to use a lot of our own assumptions to reinterpret the meaning. But this description of fire could be an artifact of a projection. If you're projecting light and smoke or some humidity or whatever gets in the way, you'll see that as a glowing spout of light. Perhaps you might misinterpret that as fire if you didn't know what was going on. Maybe. It is clear from tables 2 to 6 that both Ezekiel and Anaximander were describing conceptual cosmological models. I'm not sure I agree with you entirely, but maybe you're right. From my reading of Ezekiel, being a nerd, I was like, well, this is either some high-tech holographic projection or it's some kind of hyperdimensional thing, which is effectively the same thing as saying it's a spiritual being, which is basically in line with the Bible. So I'm torn between being a complete nerd and between being a complete nerd in two directions, both of which of nerd. Subsequent thinkers expanded upon these insights. Exodus of Cnidus introduced nested spheres to account for planetary motions. Archimedes constructed a mechanical planetarium replicating the movements of celestial bodies. Finally, Hipparchus developed the first true celestial globe. Conclusion: Ezekiel's vision stands as an intersection of theology, mythology, and cosmology. Whether viewed as divine revelation or mystical ascent or ancient cosmology, it reflects humanity's enduring attempt to understand the structure of the universe. The imagery of the cherubim, rooted in the Lamassu of Mesopotamia, bridged religion and the stars, uniting heaven and earth through symbolic forms. His firmament throne and wheels within wheels prefigure the celestial models of early Greek thought, showing that both Hebrew prophets and Ionian philosophers were reaching towards the same cosmic truth: the heavens move with divine order. Thus, Ezekiel's vision was neither merely angelic nor alien, it was cosmological. It was an ancient attempt to describe the mechanics of heaven in the language of faith, myth, and light. Maybe. It's a good interpretation, sir. I'm a hopeless nerd, so I'm still saying holographic projections or hyperdimensional beings. But I like your interpretation there, and it makes a lot of sense, particularly if we're talking about something similar to like an orrery, which is one of the most awkward words in the universe. I hate saying it. Orrery. Here we go. Here's an orrery. Wheels within wheels, describing the motions of planets and stuff. So if we're taking his interpretation to say that this is a picture of the cosmos, maybe indeed that is what that is. It's a good take, sir. But I'll go with the aliens. Or perhaps they're not aliens. Maybe they are just earlier species of hominid who became advanced and decided to kind of live up in space and stuff, maybe? I don't know. That's like a science fiction-y interpretation there. We'll take that one. That's my idea. Make sure you like the stream. It's helpful. It's encouraging. I like it. Please like me. If you don't like me, that's fine. But anyway, that is it for now. I have nothing else to say except Pigwig out.
Oink, oinkity, snort, snuffle, snuffle, squee, oink, oink, wee, squeal, snort, snort, oinkity, squee. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinkity, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Snort, snuffle, oink, squee, squeal, wee, snort, oinkity, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, wee, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinkity, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Oink, oinkity, snort, snuffle, snuffle, squee, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, wee, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinkity, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Squeal, squeal. Snort, shuffle, oink, re-squeal, re-snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, 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 snuffle, re-squeeze, snort, oink, squeal, oink, oink, oinkity, squeeze, squee, re-re-re, snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, oink, oink.